right now. JD is here, speaking with Governor Braun right now.
When just your name alone is met with such robust boos, let alone your presence, you know you are about as popular as Elon at, well, any of his kids' graduations.
Take a load off. Bub, the plane is here from Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I know, stupid, let's go.
When he's not vacationing, Vice President JD Vance is, well, planning his next vacation, of course. The Vice President met with UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy today, before then heading off on a family vacation in the Cotswolds, a trendy retreat in the English countryside that costs a pretty penny. To be fair to the guy, he's likely tired after having to boat around in Ohio's Little Miami River with inadequate water levels. Oh wait, they raised them for him. That's right.
New on WLWT, a birthday outing for Vice President JD Vance on the Little Miami River, making headlines. The Secret Service raised water levels ahead of the trip, and critics are calling it an unnecessary use of taxpayer dollars. Last weekend, Vance spent his 41st birthday along the Little Miami, but before they got in the water, the U.S. Secret Service made a special request to temporarily increase the river's water flow to make sure security crews could operate safely. The move meant raising levels from Cedar Creek Lake. Now, the Army Corps of Engineers confirmed the adjustment, saying it fell within normal standards and did not impact neighboring communities. Now, former White House ethics lawyer Richard Painter, who served under George W. Bush, posted on X, quote, "It's outrageous for the Army Corps of Engineers to spend taxpayer money to increase the water flow so the VP can go canoeing while national parks face budget cuts affecting millions of Americans." Now, a spokesperson for Vance says the vice president didn't know the water level had been altered and that security protocols are often carried out without his awareness. The Army Corps of Engineers declined to say how much, if any, the operation cost taxpayers.
All of which goes to reiterate that the serial holiday goer isn't that popular at the moment. See, before his trip, he met with Indiana Republicans as the White House ramps up its pressure in red states to redraw their congressional maps ahead of the midterms. And during an announcement of his name, this happened.
Guess who's here right now? JD is here, speaking with Governor Braun right now.
The Vice President has directed his focus to Indiana to further Republicans' wish to just basically gerrymander and try to rig the system. Well, when it benefits them, of course.
You guys are the worst offenders. Why don't you just say how terrible you guys are?
I'm not in the mood, and it's not true. So yes, the map looks.
You don't jerry around with your districts?
We don't do mid-cycle redistricting.
You just did it in New York.
No, we have never
and then she got slapped down by a judge.
We have never mid-cycle redistricted.
Just did it in 2024.
At the behest of the president asking for 5 seats like he asked for all of those votes way back in Georgia. And it's interesting you hear this from the right. Oh, look at Massachusetts. And I think Trump said he got like 40% of the vote or something there. And they don't have a Republican seat. But the GOP governor was the one who signed off on those lines, and they had a bipartisan commission to do this. Sometimes Republicans just don't win, and sometimes Democrats just don't win. It doesn't mean that everything has to be so wildly unfair. But even Ari Fleischer posted about this, which I appreciated, saying, I want to win 5 more seats, but even politics must have rules. Gerrymandering should be done once every 10 years. Check back in 2032 when this would be appropriate.
Katie,
But it appears that Vance's push is leaving a bad taste in the mouth of even fellow Republicans in the state. I mean, there's a guy deemed the godfather of the GOP in Indiana, and he is against Vance's push here. He's quoted saying that he didn't see the point of it, and that it would just be wrong, as people there have a right to pick the person they want. Yeah, you would think in a democracy, right? But Vance also serves at the feet of a man who fires someone when they dare report accurate job numbers.
Elaine Chao was on yesterday, and I know, she was, I think she was labor secretary for 8 years under Bush II, and she was your transportation secretary as well. And she said, the commissioner doesn't really even get involved with the actual minutia of putting all these things together. And there's no way that it could have been that she could have chosen to rig these numbers to make them look bad. And these are statistical changes based on this antiquated system, and it's just a big leap to go to rigged. And then it also, Mr. President, it makes anyone you pick is going to be, critics are going to say, hey, he's picking a guy that's going to give him or a gal that's giving him the numbers that he wants. So it undermines confidence in the system to some extent. You had, according to many people, all the rights in the world to try to replace a commissioner when hasn't gotten any better. But that is maybe a bridge too far, according to most people.
Well, I think when somebody says the commissioner is not involved, I don't want to get into any arguments with anybody. Why should I? She's a very nice woman.
Exactly.
But when they say that that nobody was involved, that it wasn't political, give me a break. Look. Before the election, I had this massive outflow of beauty for Biden. I mean, he didn't know he was alive. And for Biden, the economy was roaring. It was a beautiful thing. And I said, there's no way this is happening. It's going the opposite direction. And 2 weeks later, they said I was right. But even if you look at the ones from the other day, the numbers were very timid. And then they announced something that made them even more timid. On top of it, on sort of a reporting day, I don't know why, it just seemed a little bit more important than most times when they announced these numbers.
We talked earlier that
dismisses every poll that just isn't in his favor and claims that any election he loses is rigged.
They did in the election what they did in even the last election, but it was too big to rig. But what they did in the 2020 election is grotesque. I mean, that was a rigged election, 100%.
Okay, we can't relitigate that. We can't relitigate that.
No, we're back to rigging again. Well, you can use it because everyone knows.
Yeah, we are.
You know what? A year ago, you would have been upset if I said it. Today, it's different. I say it all the time. It was a rigged election. It was 100% rigged.
We can't relitigate because
and I'm sure that's going to be brought up.
Independent sources, even your Justice Department.
Reminding all of us that democracy is quite literally hanging on by a thread. And that's why showing up to these events to voice our opposition is important. It reiterates how unpopular this administration is, despite the alternative reality that Donald Trump and JD Vance like to portray.
We are watching the worst president in history manipulate the worst White House press corps in history every day. But not Catherine Lacey and not Nancy Cortez, not today. It was Catherine Lucy of Bloomberg, who got Donald Trump to lie about the J.D. Vance meeting, about the Epstein situation.
Is President Vance hosting a gathering this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
Is he working on what?
Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
I don't know. I could ask you that question.
Donald Trump knows. That was Donald Trump lying. Everyone in that room knows that Donald Trump was lying when he said he doesn't know if his vice president was having a meeting about him.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.